Shabbat Shalom. This is going to be another episode of the Elect Life, and it's kind of been hard for me to do this video, but I'm going to do it. So I want to start with just a little quote from the Rashab. Okay, and I hope people understand the rabbis, the famous sages and Torah scholars, they get acronyms in their name. He lived around 1860 to 1920, and he was a major Torah sage and mystic, meaning he understood the mysteries. But he had this quote that I just like, and it says, "Without wisdom, there are only fragments. With wisdom, there is a whole, and there is peace between all parts of that whole." And the thing is wisdom and understanding, we are told, is the principal thing that we are supposed to get. That is the highest level of spiritual understanding that you can attain to, that is contained in the Torah. And the Torah was given to Israel, correct? And you know, people who are studied and understand, it just didn't all start at Sinai. There's a huge history to it. There's many writings going back to Enoch, to the patriarchs, Abraham, to even to Adam. There are writings, quote unquote, in the house. But the point is that life can become so fragmented. Torah study can become completely fragmented if you don't have this level of spiritual understanding called Chokmah and Bina, referred to, you know, as the Heavenly Mother, the Heavenly Father. And those are, of course, we know that, yeah, it's a spirit, you know, so I mean, I don't have to explain this stuff. These are just parabolic ways for our mind to grasp the highest level of what we can know and experience about Elohim. And I just said Elohim, which is interesting because my life was rocked. 3 weeks ago, my life changed in the most radical way that I never saw coming. I've had prophecies over my life, my husband's life, things, and I never saw this as a possible interpretation. My husband, 3 weeks ago this morning, I found him, well, he had passed. The Lord had taken him. He was gone. He died a very peaceful and death. He was in complete repose. His hands were crossed over him. And so I know he didn't suffer. He had a major cardiac arrest in the middle of the night. You know, he had a heart attack about 2 years before that, and he never fully recovered. Now, I usually in my YouTube videos, I don't really go a lot of depth of my personal life or my personal experiences. I just try to stick to Torah. But in this instance, I think it's important because if I didn't have the level of wisdom and understanding, my world, it's pretty rocked. I don't think I could have stood. And the temptation for me to get so mad at God, you know, the stages of grief, you get to that stage of anger. And right now I am a widow, as I said, a widow in Israel, a very poor widow in Israel, which I never imagined. I was convinced that we were going to take our stand together in the last days and be part of the millennium and be change, you know, not necessarily come with the clouds with him, but be here, be changed, physicalities changed instantly. But that is obviously that's not the way it's playing out. So I've had to totally readjust my understanding, go deeper. And at least I understand one thing I want to tell you. I understand Yahweh when the text is talking about Yahweh Elohim. It's not like there's two gods out there, but these are different aspects. Elohim is a very different aspect of the Godhead of God than Yahweh, Yod-He, Vav-He. I'm very mad at God personally, but that's okay because what I understand, and I understand now why people, when they're, and especially today, I want to say this, when you don't understand, you get so mad at God because it's so arbitrary. It's so random. There was no warning. It was just, and I am telling you prophetically, I had a whole different scenario. So yeah, well, I have a choice. You know, I can just and I have wanted to take all my research, let me tell you what, and just chuck it out the window and say, okay, that's it, I'm done. Because it's too hard emotionally in all these different ways. Okay, and I just don't want to go on and on about it. But what I want to tell people is, you know, it is a choice. choose you this day who you will serve. I've had to do this moment by moment. But if we're going into the tribulation, I do want to tell you people, our worlds are going to get rocked more and more. Okay, we are living under the curses. Okay, now this is pretty much of a fact. People do their, okay, blessings if you're in obedience, curses if you're in disobedience. It isn't that my husband had any major sin or, any of these kind of things. But what I understand, these things happen, people. We don't totally understand these things, and it won't be till we get to the other side. And, the temptation is going to be, as things move through the earth, to get very mad at God and these judgments that are coming, all right? Even on a side note, my son was saying in some commentary he was reading about the coronavirus, where somebody made a comment and said, oh, please, only one horseman at a time, okay? Because it says that, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, famine, war, pestilence, and death. These are going to strike randomly, people. And you better have a faith in Yahweh. Yahweh better be your Elohim. And I'm learning how to, more walk the walk and just talk the talk. But I did have to share that to you because I was all prepared to do this, go into this whole new level of teaching on the mysteries and understanding now the import and what is in parts, what is in the Torah teachings at its different levels and parts, and be teaching the Sod on so many issues. And I still will, by the grace of Yahweh. Somehow I'll get there. But I just wanted to say, my husband, he had a beautiful legacy. He was the most, and I cannot believe his memorial service. I was blown away. My boys were blown away. He was a man who truly was, by everybody's definition. I am still blown away at the testimonies of people. What a godly man. We call him the people's pastor. He had this little pet phrase that he would always use on us, his family. My boy, gentle, calm, and kind. We have to be gentle, calm, and kind. And of course, we'd all roll our eyes like, oh yeah, right. In the face of life's adversities. But he was somehow able to live that no matter what was dealt him. And I am so proud of his legacy. His boys should be proud. They are proud. And the whole community that, we served in our community, we owned and operated a Christian bookstore here in New England, which is like, you talk about a graveyard of, anyways, for 25 years. There is no denominational group that we have not known intimately, deeply, and dialogued with, and fellowshipped with, and served with. Right? We had Jews would shop with us, Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, Catholics, every single denomination, known under the sun of Protestants. Okay, he was able to minister and to meet people with their and show a love of God that was like to everyone. It's truly remarkable. Okay, I'm gonna really miss him. But the thing is, he was always my covering, and he would always kind of keep me in check. And now I don't have that, and I feel like I have a righteous anger in the sense where I'm going to teach, and there's things I have to say. And personally, I don't care where it falls out. I don't care who I offend. I don't care. There are things that have to be said today because of the level of warfare, the darkness on the land, and the cluelessness of most people. I'm like astounded. Still, people. I mean, we were preaching the end times 25 years ago to people, and everyone, of course, thought we were crazy. Well, now, at least people are beginning to say, like only let's have only one horseman of the apocalypse at a time, please, But no, we need to prepare, and the message is still the same. Tell my people, tell the righteous that it shall be well with them. And all I can say is, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So let me go back to some of this originally, how I had said, well, before I digress, I want to say one thing. In, having to give a memorial, having time to reflect on my husband, our legacy together, our life together, we were at the sweetest time of our life. We were in complete unity in our spiritually, in doctrinally, and all our issues. We were looking forward to a really sweet old age where we could just kind of study the scriptures and you know, work out for, you know, pray for people, healings, all this kind of stuff. We were really gearing up to be a powerhouse at the end times. Now, I know he's with me in a lot of ways. I understand the dualism. I mean, I just feel like he is above me in the higher plane. He is coming as one of the generals, I am sure, when the final overthrow will be taking place. But one of the things that I have to say, because one of those is, and I want to just say this to people, because marriage is such a sacred institution. It is so beautiful. It is nothing that you should ever allow the nations to tamper with. You know, because the nations are full of idolatries and pain. They don't get it from, it's certainly not their fault, they just don't get it from Yahweh's point of view. But one of the things that we, even though in the end he was a little, his health had really deteriorated, his quality of life had really deteriorated in the last 2 years. And we were dealing with it. And nobody pressed into healing more than my husband. We believed in it, we pressed into it, we were believing for it. And all I can say is he's healed right now. Oh my gosh, he is totally at peace and healed, everything. So it's a beautiful knowledge. But when you run into something like that, when you run into something like, you know, these debilitating cancers, and I'm telling you people, this is epidemic of our young people getting these pestilences, which is diseases way before their time. The strong connections in family and in marriage are one of the main things that is going to keep us from going off the deep end. It kept Judah for up to 3,000 years. Okay, it's a pretty proven recipe. But what I was able to share with my husband at the end, I want to say is this, and actually this came from a quote. I used this in his source because it has always struck me as one of the most profound statements coming from Diana Carroll, who, I'm dating myself, if you understand, she was one of the first beautiful Black women to get a TV sitcom and portray a whole different level of Blackness in America, all right? And she was very instrumental in that. But at the same time, she talked about the cost of it. And she said, when she was diagnosed with cancer at one point, and she said, you know, I longed for a caring and supportive relationship that was above mere physicality. She said, I thought how comforting it must be to have a marriage with history and meaningful texture, with children raised together, especially when you comfort something as horrible as cancer or death. But I had never understood the sacrifices that were necessary for that kind of relationship. I was of the generation that wanted to have it all. You know, you can have love, career, children, and travel, everything, you know, but we don't understand. We've lost the sense of so many of these priorities, and she's lost the sense of the self-sacrifice that was needed to attain the highest levels of what you need in like deep, caring, supportive, cemented relationships. Okay, and through marriage, through children, through the extended family, through the nuclear, these are things that have historically kept peoples, nations together. And we need, it's under such assault today. But this is the strength that Yahweh, one of the institutions that Yahweh gives to weather and to battle the arbitrariness of the God Elohim. All right, now because this is what people, unless you get to know through getting up the tree of life, unless you go through the gate, so to speak, into Yahweh, Yod He Vav He, and understand God is a very arbitrary, it makes no sense. And it makes no sense, okay? But that's only half of the equation. That's why he's constantly calling us. You need to get higher in you need wisdom and understanding, all right? And this is what I'm going to teach. This is what I'm going to share, because and we're at a game changer today. All right. This is one of the main things that I know that I know. And I know that I know because not that any man taught me or because I thought it up, or I know because the Ruach HaKodesh has shown me a mystery, which is exactly the same mystery, basically, that was shown to Paul, that has been shown to many Torah sages. All right. So there's nothing new under the sun. But this I know is my kind of my theme verse. All right. Because we're coming up to the end of the age. We're coming to a showdown. We're coming to and we're coming to a time of restoration. We're coming to what is known as the restoration of all Israel. All right. But the message that Moshe gave to Pharaoh is the same then, is the same now as it was then. Israel is my son, even my firstborn. That is probably got one of those packed verses in all of the Bible. And yet I'll tell you what, good little evangelical Christian for, 26, 27 years, okay? It was only about 10 years ago, 8 years ago that I really got out of the matrix, so to speak, all right? But it is about the restoration of all Israel and the return back to the land, all right? But the return and the restoration are very much conceptually tied in together. So my question would be, what are we supposed to be returning to? What are we, what's going on here? Because when I said in the beginning, unless you have wisdom and understanding, everything is a fragment. Everything is, and this is what I see all over YouTube, this is what I see all over, is people are full of fragments. But the holistic understanding and the peace between all these different parts, you can only get through this level, which is called the Sod level, it's in the mysteries, and it is kept in the Jewish mystical writings. And you can't even get to the Jewish mystical writings until you understand all of Torah and the Halakha, and you're holy, and you get it, okay? So this is meat, and this is not for children. But I'm talking to, there are so many mature, quote unquote, people out there who should know this. So I guess I am mad at the teachers out there on both houses. I'm like, how can you not see this stuff, know this stuff? All right. So we're going to start with the return. What are we returning to are we returning from Egypt? Are we returning from Babylon? Are we returning from exile? Are we returning from diaspora? Is it the scattered seed or the seed that was sowed in the land? Are we returning to Yahweh, our Elohim? Are we returning to Jerusalem, a city of Jerusalem? Are we returning to the land of Israel? The land of Israel, right? Are we returning to Jewish Halakha? Are the men all supposed to wear tzitzits and are we supposed to keep the law? Are we returning to the festivals? Are we supposed to return to Sabbath? Okay, are we supposed to return to sacrifice? I mean, seriously. So when this is it, it's either a bunch of fragments or no, there's a real master plan and there's a whole. And the elect, I'm here to help raise up the elect who will be the spear, the tip of the spear that is going to be thrust into the enemy's kingdom and is going to do mortal, praise Elohim, Yahweh, damage. So just this, the two-house restoration, in my opinion, is like the most fundamental. If you don't have this revelation right now, I stop bumping your gums, because truly you are still teaching fragments to the house of Israel or the house of Judah. And if you're still a Christian or a Jew who doesn't understand the two houses, two sisters, two Siddiqs, two houses, there are so many allegorical ways that this is parabolic, that this is spoken of. I can't help you, all right? We need to unplug our ears. We need to get spiritual sight, and we need to begin to put this thing together, because divided, we fall, right? United, we can stand, and we need to take our stand now. So the two-house restoration, I don't care if you're quote unquote a Jew or a Joe, and that's a little, Joe from Joseph, the house of Joseph, the story, the meaning that is so apparent in the story of Joseph being sold by his brothers down the river into Egypt. All right, this whole thing. So these are hugely packed, parabolic with spiritual realities. Okay, he's like, your reality is not your physical universe, people. This is what your physical universe can get rocked in an instant, like mine was. Okay, so we put no stock in that. All right, even my understanding, like I said, I have to lay it down again. Okay, Yahweh, help me pick it up again with greater insight, wisdom, and understanding what you're doing. All right, but the fundamental thing is that I said it's in the Hebrew. You have to get into this language. You don't have to like totally learn it to, it's a huge, but there's enough helps. There are enough study helps out there that everyone is without excuse to be able to get back to the Hebrew, understand what those letters and those little the gashas and why the different vowels were used. And there's four that come to make up a word, a root word. All right. There's no more excuse for that. All right. We have to go back to a pure language. Now, the blessing, the birthright, we're all children of Abraham, right? Father Abraham had many children, whatever, right? But the storyline that we are kind of taking up, beginning with Abraham, with Isaac, with Jacob, our patriarchs, all right? These people are making that carried forward a very specific anointing, covenant, storyline, writings, everything for the nations. Okay, it isn't just for them, Judah. It's not just to hoard this information. It is for the nations in the last days. Because that whole birthright blessing in the Hebrew, birthright, the Bekora and the Bekorah, two totally different Hebrew words, blessing and birthright. If you don't know those Hebrew words, how they apply to Esau and to the two times that Esau was kind of, he gave up or was taken from it, whatever, the birthright and the blessing, what that means, the firstborn. Israel is mine, even my firstborn. Firstborn is fundamental to understanding what's going on. So what I'm saying, I'm going to really go back to all this understanding and reteach it, because both houses are firstborns. The house of Judah and the house of Israel, the house of Ephraim, the house of Joseph. All right? Both of them are firstborns. Both of them carry a portion of the birthright blessing. And it is absolutely foundational to get it correct, so that you can, when you read your text, you can understand that and then there is only one high priest over both. All right? So priest, prophet, Yeshua, I taught a lot about the three kind of messianic archetypes that are totally all over the writings. Priest, a prophet, Mashiach. These things have to do with exactly what I just said: a birthright, a blessing, and the firstborn, and how that all has been separated, brought together, and in the last days that whole will be brought together, and that coming together of that is going to be the greatest. That's what Scripture says. I'm not making the greatest work that Yahweh Elohim has done in all of history, all of the history of the last 6,000 years. It's going to astound the nations. It's going to astound everyone. It's going to give him the greatest glory. And I can see it, because I'll tell you what, I look down and I read these. I go, you've done that. That's already, you're doing that. You're doing this. And we all wonder, oh gosh, where's Elohim in the world? The unbeliever. Oh yeah, where's God working in the world? Well, I'm going to tell you very specifically, and you're going to be without excuse. All right. For those who have a pure heart, remember, to the pure, all things are pure. And if you seek him with all your heart, with a pure heart, you will find him. He can be found, but he will be found on his terms. I just learned that, really. So anyways, there are so many things in this teaching that have to be, and usually I'm kind of hard on the Ephraimite, because they just, the anti-Semitism, oh my gosh, people, the anti-Semitism that has been in the house of Joseph from the get-go as they have continued to be mixed in with the nations is astounding. And we have a lot to repent of. But at the same time, Judah's blindness is really getting on my nerves. I have to tell you that. Not that I probably can speak into that. I mean, not that I think the rabbis are going to listen to me, but I don't really care. It's going to go out there. That sound, that voice, that word is going to go out there, and you let Yahweh do with it what he wants. But both on both the houses for the blindness and the hardness, pray. See, Elohim, if they will call upon my name, I will come and heal them. And heal them of so many, it's always, we always think physical healing. Well, you need to be healed in your blindness spiritually. You need to be healed. Well, I don't want to do this rabbit trail preaching thing, all right? So there is the concept of another place. I have to go deeply back into that so we can understand the role of the nations in prophecy, America in prophecy, Israel in prophecy, all right? I'm done with the confusion. There's scriptures. There are tons of scriptures. I will do blogs. This is the thing that my husband died the night, honestly. We're just about to, I've been talking about releasing a website and so close and getting close to releasing a couple videos just pre-website. And I'm like, can the warfare be that intense? I can't even imagine that would be possible. But it's still going to come. I have to get back up somehow by the grace of Elohim and keep pushing forward. But the scriptures, there are so many scriptures that say this clearly, but we have a blindness over our eyes, people. The records that are in the Mishnah, in the Talmud, in the writings about the two houses, all right? And a constant, violence done to the scriptures by both houses to try to, make it fit totally different narratives and scenarios and theologies, all right? So it's time, it's got to come out, and this is what I'm doing. All right, so let me just give you, a lot of it has to do with two things. The keys to the kingdom have to be re-understood and given. We have to reclaim this. And people, I hope I'm part of an army, and I am. There are people out there. There's an army of people. We need to come together more. And I'll tell you the other thing that I'm totally done is Raka. If you continue, I'm so done with you, Ephraimite teachers on YouTube who think you know better than Judah, the Torah. Oh my gosh, I'm so done with you and your violence to the text. And I personally talked to a couple of you. I won't even mention names. But I personally tried to express, well, there's something called Jewish Kabbalah. That's not like the occultic dark Kabbalah. Can you kind of grasp even that concept? I'm so done with these Ephraimite teachers that are the bad sheep that are muddying the water, with their feet stomping around to get the waters all stirred up so that the sheep cannot even come and quietly and serenely and meditatively with their creator Elohim just read the text. It's all we're ever asked to do. Just read the text. Be open, honest, pure-hearted, and I, the Ruach, will teach you all truth. Is that so hard? Okay. Now, let me just say this. So, just to give an example of the keys, all right? Because the Kabbalah is what Jewish, mystical understandings that have been kept in the house of Judah really under extreme tight lock key. Let me just say this one thing. The problem today, too, is that there are so many uneducated Christians and Jews who do not even read their own texts. This is the problem. People do not understand a famine of the word. Oh, my gosh. We have lost so much in the last 80 years in terms of biblical understanding and biblical scholarship. And, I research and get a lot. Well, I know this from studying my own family history. I know this from getting in the bookstore old Bibles that would have the Apocrypha in them. Bibles in these little New England churches, because every church would have a little Bible in its pew, big, these big things, family Bible, huge. And you got to look at their canons. People, you got to get over this 66 book thing, all right? I mean, my gosh, the writings, and you have to understand how the Jews, I'm talking to a house of Ephraimite, an evangelical, or whoever kind of Christian you want to call yourself. You have to understand how extensive, quote unquote, the writings are. And that when Yeshua says he is the word, we're not talking about the King James Bible. Okay, that's not the word of God, okay? People understand, oh, there's just so much to clear up. But anyways, we have to understand, well, here, I'm going to record. In Exodus 23:25, okay? It's a very famous chapter, and it really is all about, you know, the blessings. If you kind of keep Torah at this level, if you keep the Sabbath and you keep the feast and you keep justice and mercy, the left side and the right side in harmony with the middle pillar, okay? If you can walk in justice and in mercy and not just judgment, you know, you will have all these blessings. But it says here in Exodus 23:25, it says, so you shall serve in Yahweh, your Elohim. Now listen, I don't like to use the word God because that's a very profane and pagan name that can apply to anything. Even fallen angels are called God, you know, whatever. No, my God is Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton, Yod-He-Vav-He, which is a huge, it's so much bigger than any, it'll blow your mind, any evangelical, okay? So you need to understand that. But God, you know, God Riel, I'm convinced of this. Most people, that's why the God that I'm mad at, God Riel, this angel of death, you know, who was able, maybe I have to wait to heaven to find out, who was able to come into my home in the middle of the night and take my husband, okay? And you know, had permission to do this, whatever. Okay, it's a mystery, people. Okay? But you know, until the Lord returns, I'm going to keep asking. I want to understand. I want the level of wisdom and understanding. Now, it says, you shall serve Yahweh your Elohim. He will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you. Now, this is a keys to the kingdom verse, because this is tell you people on so many levels. Okay, yes, we got to eat bread. I mean, you know, and I don't care if it's a cupcake, which you probably shouldn't eat anyways, all that sugar. You know, eat some Ezekiel bread, right? But bread is a word, and even in the King James, it's not sometimes interchanged with meat. We're talking about food, all right? So we're talking about, yes, we have to live on bread and our water. But see, it has nothing to do with that. In the level of understanding that we need to attain to, that Yahweh is calling us up to, bread and water, that's our body, our nephesh soul life. And water refers to our emotional, the world of Yetzirah. Okay, fun, let's get this, people. It's not rocket science, all right? You know, we can understand that Yeshua's broken body, broken bread. He said, I break it. I mean, we kind of understand that analogy, that right, to bread and body. But what we don't know is what we're talking about, something much bigger than the physical body per se, the nephesh soul life, which is that has an animation, a spark of light in it that is in our blood, which is the animating force behind us. And that is a huge category. And the breath that has been breathed into an Adamite elevates that nephesh all the way, at much higher than an animal. That's why this is what they're doing in the Torah, okay? There's different levels of soul life that people can operate as. You can operate as an animal, go ahead. Be base and just do your lusts and your passions and whatever, okay? Or we can elevate our soul life. And this is the whole point of Torah. This is the whole point of the Kabbalah, to teach people how to elevate, all right? That's what Yeshua came, so that our soul life, which is the one that's under siege, our Yetzirah, can be calmed, can be stilled, can be made to serve him. If you can get your Yetzirah to serve, your body will immediately fall into submission. And this is the piece of the puzzle. People are constantly trying to get the body to obey. No. Hierarchy. The Yetzirah, your soul level, is higher functioning. You've got to get that to respond, and then it tells the body. Okay, but we got the cart before the horse, or however they say that right now. So when we understand, and he will take sickness away from the midst of you. Sickness is, you know, with psychosomatic. So sickness is caused by, bottom line, in one level, bad midos, which is character, bad soul life, bad emotional baggage, bitterness. You hold on to bitterness and unforgiveness. You have, you're ruled by anger and hatred. Your body's going to pay a big, big toll. All right. And that's what we're seeing today, because nobody wants to, hear about good mitos, good character anymore. Nobody wants to hear about, reining in. We are such in a place today. This is my last point I'll make, of racha. Yeshua said, if you hate your brother, you walk in darkness, bottom line. So if you're anti-Semitic, or if you're a Jew today and you refuse at this point now, because there's enough anointed revelation going on by enough people, that Judah needs to take another look at quote unquote Edom or Christianity, because it's not what it is on the surface. All right. The house of Joseph has a part of the birth of the blessing, of the birthright, of the firstborn. All right. It's a fact. And you need to understand the role of Yeshua, of Messiah ben Joseph, for the lost tribes. All right. You have always believed in Messiah. And if, according to the Rambam, if you keep doing that, keep believing in Messiah, that's a surefire. That's one of the, I don't get ahead of myself. You need to believe in the coming of Mashiach for a salvation to come for you. All right. Now, if that was true for the house of Judah, wouldn't it naturally kind of be true for the house of Ephraim, who it's promised all over the prophets that he will restore them? Okay. So if he had to send this Messiah ben Joseph type figure, and the other thing we have to completely is the early church, how screwed up it got. The Nazarene, Essene, the early congregation, totally Jewish. Yeshua is a totally Jewish rabbi, a Davidian prince who, don't tell me the Sanhedrin knew exactly who he was and his lineage, and we're watching him. There's so much to this story. The players, the school of Shemai, the school of Hillel, understanding who the players, everything back in its context. So yeah, I'm gonna teach on this stuff. I'm gonna do my best. And personally, my husband's gone to rein me in. Yahweh himself will have to do it. So on that note, let it rip. Let me just say, because see, there's just so many parabolic keys out there that unlock things, but just time even. Okay, you cannot understand time in the Bible, how it's used, times and a half of times, and all these things, unless you have the level of wisdom and understanding. Now, Hosea 6, it says very clearly, come, let us return to Adonai. For he has torn us, but he will heal us. That's always the promise. He has wounded us, but he will bandage us. He will revive us after 2 days. He will raise us up on the 3rd day, that we may live before him. People, we are in the 2 days. Even the Jews understand these are the days of Mashiach, the footsteps of Mashiach. So house of Judah, you better understand, okay? The two houses, the tribes are coming home. They're not lost anymore. They've never been lost to Yahweh. Joseph is trying to reveal himself, to his brothers, and his brothers are going to be blown away, and they are Judah. So the whole story of the brothers being revealed to each other is happening now, all right? And we are in the 2 days, and we are close to the 3rd day when he will raise us up. So the stakes are very high. This is the time you need to pay attention, okay? Like I always say, the days of playing Candy Crush should be over. Torah should be your consuming passion right now. And if I can add to the dialogue, just praise Adonai. But his word is going to be true. My last quick little keys on this thing, how we have to rightly divide the word of truth. Jeremiah 23:7, Jeremiah 3:18, Jeremiah 16:15, Jeremiah 3:18, Jeremiah. That in these last days, he says, in those days, I just told you, Isaiah, they're specific. The rabbis, the sages know the last 2 days. They know that. We are in these 2 days. In those days, the house of Judah will walk with the house of Israel, and they will come together from the land of the north to the land I have given your ancestors as an inheritance. See, without the true sod level understanding, so I've said before, the land of the north, it's not Russia. It has nothing to do with that. The land of the north is in the tree of life, is in Gevera, is in this place that is in the cosmoses, or in the dimensions where evil originates and is allowed to exist, and it will be thrown down from there. The land of the north is our captivity under demonic control that controls half of us, our evil inclination, truly the part of the left side. This is all charted, categorized, subsetted, contained in the Torah. And, you know, you can be a blind leading the blind, but not me, man. I ain't falling into that ditch anymore. So on that note, shalom, blessings, and I will be back.